Hi, my cherished viewers. I want to address the issue of calculated risks. If you are somebody who is conversant with the topics of business and the topics of creation and the topics of establishing your own firm, entrepreneurship, I believe one term that you wouldn't miss out is the term risk. Now, whenever this issue of risk comes in, what comes into people's mind is you know, chances of success or chances of failure. Yeah. If you have that perception, you aren't wrong. And then I want to say that we all say and we all agree to the fact that if you want to start a business or you want to start a project or anything you want to get involved in as far as creation is concerned, you need to take risk. So I want to address the issue of taking risk. Precisely, I want to address the issue of taking calculated risk. The fact that you are supposed to take risk in life doesn't mean you just get up and do anything. For example, when we take an airplane, right? You can't just jump out of an airplane. You are just taking a risk, but it's not a necessary risk or it is not a calculated risk. But if you are jumping out of that airplane with a parachute, you are taking a calculated risk. If you pick up a motor bicycle and you start riding without a crash helmet, you are taking a risk, but that risk isn't calculated. If you put on a helmet, you are putting in some form of calculation in your risk. The same way applies to a business. The same way applies to creating opportunities. I want to advise you, my viewer, and whether you are listening to me through an audio system, that risks are necessary for people who want to create opportunities, but you always have to make sure that the risks are properly calculated. For example, let's say you want to go into a form of supply system, and the supply of things you want to get involved in is maybe supply of perishable goods. One question you should ask yourself is that is there always going to be the chance of your goods being completely off the shelf? So an optimist will say that yes, I believe my goods will always be off the shelf. But somebody who is a little pessimistic will say that no, not always. Sometimes market may not be good, so things may not always be off the shelf. So this tells you that you need to take a calculation. You need to put in a calculation here. So you ask yourself, in case it happens that people don't buy my goods, how am I going to secure my goods? How am I going to keep my goods safe so that they don't get destroyed? So if you're able to put in a measure, let's say you put in some refrigerating systems or some systems that will keep your vegetables or your tomatoes longer, you are taking a calculated risk. Let's say you are somebody who is getting involved in maybe some form of transportation. You ask yourself, is your vehicle going to always be constantly available and constantly in good shape for the business? Now, the optimist could say that, yeah, it's gonna be so always. But then an aspect of pessimism will say that no, sometimes the vehicle could break down. So your question should be, when my vehicle breaks down, how am I going to keep the business going without stopping because of that particular vehicle that is broken down? So if you are able to have an alternative system to make sure that this problem is solved, you are taking a calculated risk. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to bring to your notice that I strongly agree with taking risks, but I want you to make sure that if you want to take any risk, you have to be wise, you have to be smart, you have to have alternative plans, you have to have alternative mechanisms to solve problems that may arise. Then let me talk about this. If you want to start a business, I would advise that in starting of the business, sometimes profits don't quickly come. Sometimes a lot of things don't go as expected. So please, you must set some money aside out of the business that could keep you running your personal life. Do you get me? Now, if you are somebody who is going for a loan for the business, don't go for the loan in such a way that when deductions are made from your salary, you aren't gonna get something to keep yourself running. When you do that, you're going to have a lot of problems because if there is a little business failure, you are going to be in a deep problem. So you have to make sure you make that provision as well. If you're able to do this, you realize that even if your business doesn't go as expected, you still have things to keep you going. In that case, you are not going to be financially stranded, and you are not going to be distressed. You are not going to be depressed, and then you are going to at least have some peace of mind to run the business. And also, one thing that helps a lot is that when you want to start a business, there are some businesses that it can take time before you succeed in starting to get something. So I will advise that you have multiple sources of income before you are able to start certain kind of projects. For example, if you want to go into real estate, okay, let's go this way. If you want to go into real estate, it will take some time for you to finish building whatever apartment you have, and it may take time for you to get people to come and rent. So I will advise that you should have a separate business that brings money quickly. For example, you can be somebody involved in the sale of building materials. You realize that for the sales, money will come quickly, unlike the building in the real estate. So what happens is that even within the period of the building and within the period of waiting for somebody to come for that building, that business that deals with the sale of the building materials will keep you going, will keep you fueling your car, will keep you doing maintenance, will keep you paying your bills and keep your life running. Have a nice time, guys, and much love.